Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description.
49ers fans have a new love, John. And his name is Zach Wilson, BYU quarterback. But I don't know the Niners fans. I don't know where they think the Niners are picking. I don't know where they think Zach Wilson's getting drafted. I don't even know how much Zach Wilson they've watched, but they love him. I did a radio hit with a buddy in Utah the other day. He's like, who do Niner fans want? And I'm like, Zach Wilson. They all want Zach Wilson. And you watch him Friday night, you understand why.
I do think if you watch like a sport, if you go to Twitter when he was going nuts on Friday night against Boise State, biggest deficit, I think, beatdown they've had in like 20 years there. I know you gave the stat of their record there, but that was their widest margin of loss of over that time. So, they kicked their ass.
In their defense, they had like their third or fourth string quarterback or both, but still.
Yeah. To me, their defense is typically pretty good.
In the last 20 years.
Yeah, and he started slow. He eviscerated them.
It was about the defense.
He eviscerated them in the second half. And throwing deep balls, just throwing lasers. He just looked like, that's it. And I'm talking like Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah, like everyone just started tweeting about him. Like he's no longer some secret, some like kind of hipster draft pick. Like to me, he became mainstream, I thought, Friday night. And it was already kind of close to mainstream. I thought it became official. Like I got Gil Brandt, I got Bucky Brooks, I got DJ. It's like no longer. Because when SportsCenter tweeted out like his sweet pass, every response was like, "Come to the Jags," "Come to the Cowboys." Like it was a lot of football fans just at home, probably hanging out, watching the game because they'd kind of heard some things, and then he starts making sweet plays. I don't see how he doesn't go in the top 10, Guy.
And the beauty of this is they'll play San Diego State, which is a good team, but them going unbeaten is great for everybody, right? Like if you're a scout, you're probably rooting for this guy to go unbeaten so that you get another sweet game with him potentially.
Well, I think NFL teams, if you said you can each of you put 20,000 into the pot to get them a big Power 5 opponent, right? To get them against Georgia, to get them against I almost said Michigan or Penn State. Those teams suck, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
An Oregon. You know what the NFL would do to get like Oregon, BYU, or just. And this is the one great part about college, and it happens sometimes in the NCAA tournament. Like Zach Wilson, if everyone by 2 months from now he's the number 3 quarterback on the board and a top 10 guy, there is a lot of buildup. Oregon, or Zach Wilson versus USC in the whatever bowl, right? Fiesta Bowl. Like I think that has a lot of juice to it, just because of him. He is. I mean, I don't want to say solidified himself, but how is like first round lock, right?
Yeah.
How would a guy like that make it past like the 20?
Well,
I just don't.
I mean, so you said a second ago you thought he was a top 10 pick.
Top 10 talent. Sometimes things
Right.
play out differently. There's a lot of things that can happen. We've seen over the years, right?
Yeah, but I mean. We're pretty confident the 2 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 3 picks. I mean, depends like who ends up, right? Someone might end up at 2 and just goes, I just want to take Penei Sewell, and they just don't trade out of the spot unless they want to flip-flop 2 and 3. But, I mean, there have been lesser talented quarterbacks in recent drafts that have gone in the top 10, right? Josh Rosen was not this talented.
Baker Mayfield, I don't think is this talented.
Baker Mayfield's not this talented. Now, Baker had won at a really high level.
And been a 3-year starter and kicked ass.
To be
been
fair
in the playoffs twice. Yeah. Baker accomplished a lot. Won the Heisman. He accomplished a lot in college. But he was, just as a talent, this guy's bigger, faster, stronger arm, right?
Yeah, more athletic.
Yeah.
His arm, I remember watching him as a freshman and liking him just because anytime a true freshman starts at like a real, legit school, you're like, okay, there must be something to this guy. And you could see it pretty quickly. And I know I've talked to some people who poo-poo some of his numbers that like, if you break down his numbers and take out the Power 5 schools, it's 53%, and then it's this and that.
Their schedule this year is not great.
But I've even heard that like big picture. Because if you look at his first 2 years, the numbers are not remarkable by any stretch. But you just, I don't know how you can watch him and talk about what he doesn't do.
Would you be against if if the Pac-12 doesn't have an undefeated team, let's say that, one loss, let's say Oregon, let's just hypothetically, the ACC, they're getting Notre Dame in. Ohio State's getting in.
And Clemson.
You think Clemson's still in pretty good shape? They got to be, right?
I think they are because DJ, if they come back.
Okay, so they probably couldn't make the playoffs then, huh?
BYU? I don't think so. I don't think their schedule is strong enough. I don't think they would make it unbeaten over. It'd be hard even over a 2-loss.
Well, here's what's going to happen. Florida just beat Georgia. More than likely, it's going to be Florida, Alabama. If Florida were to beat Bama or Bama were to beat Florida, that team would be out of the playoffs, and then it'd probably be Clemson because they're going to get the benefit of the doubt with Trevor Lawrence, even though the fucking DJ is fantastic. Obviously, Ohio State and Notre Dame are on a fast track there. Couldn't you, I wonder if BYU has enough juice, and just with the quarterback, BYU Florida.
Yeah, I think they do have enough juice, especially if he keeps
because of him.
Well, because of him, and they are BYU. BYU is a big deal, right? BYU is a big brand. People are used to seeing. First of all, they're used to seeing good quarterbacks play at BYU. BYU obviously has a massive following just from a religious standpoint, right? And their alumni community is massive. But they also just have name recognition, and you've seen them play in big football games with good quarterbacks.
They played Notre Dame. I mean, they played big teams forever.
So, yeah, man, I think that'd be – and you made me think of this, and he'll be a Heisman candidate. Now, the problem is, is Cincinnati unbeaten? Because they're going to have a pretty good argument because they're kicking people's teeth in, right? That would be another one. I love Cincinnati. I love BYU. I don't want them to play each other in a bowl game. I want one of them to play Florida, and I want one of them to play Indiana, a Big Ten power. But you know what I'm saying? I don't want that. When TCU and Boise played in the Fiesta Bowl a few years ago now. It's that was kind of bullshit. No one wanted to play either one of them, so they made them play each other.
Yeah, we know that's. I'm not going to say you can't do that because they do that.
I know, but and again, Cincinnati might actually be a great game for him because Cincinnati is good. I just think each of those teams deserve their own moment against somebody else.
Wouldn't you want to see BYU play Florida?
But so
BYU play Oregon. Guy, their schedule last year. I just pulled up their 2019. I talked to a buddy today in the NFL. He's like, the one thing a lot of the scouts were hammering home, from the office to the road guys that aren't able to go. You can't go to BYU. These road scouts are not going into BYU. They have Zoom conferences with the pro liaisons. They obviously watch the film. But last year when they were going in, his opening schedule last year, Utah, Tennessee, USC, Washington. And he was 2-2, and he threw for 280, 270, 230. He was productive against good teams last year. Now he's clearly gotten a lot better.
What was his touchdown interception last year?
I just have the schedule up. Let me
it was nothing spectacular.
Played Hawaii in the bowl game, lost, but he had a big game. Now that's not going to do anything. He's played a lot of football, I guess is my point. He's not he's been playing for this program for 3 years, and I think this year you just watch him and you go, yeah, I get he's playing Boise. Let's say they're a down team this year relative to what they've been. That guy that I watched, if you put him against Oregon or USC, I think he'd look good, right? I
just watch him and think he should be in the Pac-12. Look at his arm. Look at his athleticism.
Well, he'd be the best quarterback in the Pac-12. I mean, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
He's a Heisman candidate. That's the other thing that helps them, right? Now, is Kyle Shanahan going to watch his tape? He's higher profile than Patrick Mahomes was, right? He's not higher profile than Deshaun Watson
I think he is dramatically more high profile than Patrick was that year.
Would Kyle? This is now we started it with Niner fans love him, so let's end it with could Kyle like him?
I don't see why he wouldn't. He's athletic. He's accurate. And he's got now Kyle never really had a big arm quarterback. I mean, if Niners fans, this would be that'd be people would act like you just drafted Jerry Rice or Steve Young. I'd be so excited. I think it's going to be pretty clear. Niners are going to win 6 or 7 games, probably, right? They still got a couple NFC East games. They'll probably just scheme. If they get to 7, you are coming up a ways. If you're drafting 14, you might have to get to 6 to get this guy.
Yeah. Well,
so would they trade their next year's 1 to move up and do that?
they've moved up for guys they loved before, right? They wouldn't do it for a guy just because he's a quarterback and they need a quarterback. But if they love him, they would do it, I think.
But a 14-6 or a 14-5 does cost you 2022 one.
Yeah,
That's just.
I'm
that's
just saying. I think
the price for Zach Wilson, more than likely where they're coming from, is double ones, right?
Yeah, the flip and then next year. And I'm just saying, do you tell me if you
and maybe like a fourth, right?
Fine. Tell me if you agree with this. If Kyle Shanahan loves a player, he loves a player and he wants that player. Now we haven't seen him do that with a quarterback, but he almost did with Kirk. And Kirk would not have been cheap. It wouldn't have cost him draft picks, but it would have cost a lot of money to get Kirk Cousins, right?
Yes.
If Jimmy hadn't fallen in the lap. Kyle has said it on the record. Kirk Cousins was basically, he's made it clear, was going to be their quarterback.
Do you think there's any chance this guy's the number 2? Like this guy's not even available at like 5, 6, 7. Like he goes second
ahead of Fields. You're saying?
Yeah.
I'd be the Fields resume in terms of the people he's played is going to be so good
and kick their ass.
It would take somebody with a lot of equity to do it, right? He'd just be the easy one to take, and if the other guy's better, you go, well, what do you want? Now, would Andy Reid do it? Maybe. Shanahan does have equity, so he could do it if he were in that position, but he's not going to be in that spot. But he's on the record of saying, like, yeah, I didn't watch Mahomes enough. He can't make that mistake again.
No. To me, the Niners have to be doing a full-blown Trevor Lawrence. They have no access to him. Yeah, I wouldn't even waste time on Trevor Lawrence. Justin Fields, just because we've seen weird things happen. I would have said Tua at this time last year was going to go number 1, and then he went 5. And, like, I think the Niners have to be all in on evaluating Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Zach Wilson. Just because you never know. Maybe a team likes Trey Lance more. Justin Fields somehow is there at 4 or 5, and can you get up 10 spots? You got to be emptying the kitchen sink on those 3 guys. If Trevor Lawrence is going 1, and that feels set in stone, I'm doing everything possible to evaluate these 3 guys. And Kyle, we're about 2 losses away from maybe, Kyle, Tuesdays, let's just get a little away from the game plan. Let's come in here with the college guys, spend a couple hours, right? They did that with Bosa, I heard. Once the season got away from and Jimmy tore his ACL, I think you start doing that if you're not there yet, because they win this week against the Saints, they'd be 5-5, and Kyle should keep coaching. But you get to the point where you're 4-5, you're 4-8. Maybe it's time to just think a little big picture. You got a 6-year contract.
See if Mike McDaniel wants to run a few games.
Yeah. You want to get a little blueprint? Ready? We know Robert can't take it. He ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, you need to get the job yourself.
I know this. If I'm Trey Lance or Zach Wilson, you couldn't ask. If Kyle Shanahan likes you and it's between like the Jags and some of these other teams, you better pray to God. If I was their agent, kind of like Mahomes did with Veach, I want this guy to end up in San Francisco, right? In other words,
I'm telling the Niners who likes my guy. Get ahead of them to trade.
Remember the story about Veach and the agent? Do you know what that meant to the agent? $450 million. Now, even in your wildest dreams, when they were having that conversation at some all-star game, no one could have envisioned that. Maybe Veach, honestly. I'm not even just because Veach might have been, he's going to be an all-time great. But I think if you're Kyle, you need to use your greatest attribute of we like this guy. I would do a Veach moment. If you love Zach Wilson, you start talking to the agent what you need to tell us who likes him so we can come get him. You want your guy in our fucking market.
That's a good point.